Hey everyone, this is the Mount Hawkins Loop hike. Now, actually, for the price of one Mount Hawkins, you'll get three Mount Hawkins. We're gonna start in Crystal Lake, go do Mount Hawkins, and then come back down Hawkins Ridge and bag Middle Mount Hawkins, and then South Mount Hawkins, and then back down to Crystal Lake. It's a beautiful hike. There's not a ton of people here, and the views are spectacular. As you can see, the wilderness pristine. If you want to do it, obviously go to HikingGuy.com where I have the full guide and maps and all that fun stuff. But otherwise, let me show you the turn-by-turn directions to the Mount Hawkins and whatever, to all three Mount Hawkins.
All right, so we start at Crystal Lake. Now there's a million different trailheads and parking lots, so go to the website just to make sure that you know you're in the right place. But this is the trailhead right here, the trailhead for the Windy Gap Trail, which is also incorrect on Google Maps, just a heads up. We're going to go through the campground here, and eventually we're going to leave the campground, and you can see the trail is easy to follow. For the most part, this entire loop is pretty easy to follow. And you're going to head uphill. Eventually you're going to cross this little road here, one of the campground roads. As part of Deer Flat, Crystal Lake, there's a bunch of different camping sites. You'll also notice that the trails are well marked. A lot of signs. You can, according to the sign, get pretty much anywhere in Angeles National Forest from here. We're going to continue heading uphill and eventually going to kind of come out of the trees, and you're going to start getting some views down into the valley where you drove up to get to Crystal Lake. And we're going to start heading uphill. Now it's steep. This is probably the steepest part from here to Windy Gap, so just beware. Now at this point we're going to cross this dirt road. Now we're actually going to come back down here and come back down this trail when we finish. So remember this junction. But otherwise just go straight through and across to continue the trail. And you'll see it's right here. Again, well marked, and it will be going uphill until you get to Windy Gap, and then you go uphill some more, but not as tough. Now right after that junction is the junction with the big Cyanga Trail. We're going to go straight here. That trail will be off to the left. Some more trail signs, which is nice. And we're going to go straight, and from here we're going to start a series of kind of longer switchbacks as we go up. You can see there's a switchback here. The nice thing is there's great views. There's Mount Islip in the distance, and that's Windy Gap right next to it where we're heading. In the distance you will see Mount Wilson and some of the lower peaks down there in Angeles National Forest. But we're going to head up here on these wider switchbacks, these longer switchbacks, and keep going up. Now, the trail is pretty well maintained. There have been rock slides and washouts, but you can see the Forest Service has shored up the trail in a lot of places. It's definitely in decent condition and a well or much used trail, this one to Windy Gap. Now when you get up to Windy Gap, you will breathe a sigh of relief. There's lots of trail signs. You will see down from where you came. It's pretty steep. Pretty impressive that you made it up here a couple thousand feet. We're going to make the right here onto the Pacific Crest Trail. You'll see there's a sign there for PCT and Hawkins Ridge, which is our next stop here. Now this is, as you would imagine on the PCT, pretty easy to follow. Beautiful views. You're going to kind of go up along the ridgeline here. You're on the other side of Angeles National Forest, and you'll be able to see north into the Mojave. You'll be able to see the Angeles Crest Highway down there. Hopefully not hearing too much traffic from motorcycles and all that fun stuff, but we're going to continue along here, and it's a gradual uphill. There's some switchbacks, and again, really great views when you're here. There's Mount Waterman, Twin Peaks, Strawberry in the distance, Mount Wilson, down where you came from, down at Crystal Lake. And we're going to just continue up the switchbacks here and keep climbing. When we get up to Mount Hawkins, which is our next stop, it'll be the highest point on the hike, and there'll be some ups and downs on the way back, but it's not too bad. Now eventually we're going to get to Hawkins Ridge, which is right here. We're going to come back and go down that, but first we're going to get Mount Hawkins, which is straight ahead there, the little pointy peak. So we're going to continue on the PCT for a little stretch until we get up there. We've gone this far, right? Why not get Mount Hawkins when we do this? Most people just do the loop back to South Mount Hawkins. Now, There's an unmarked junction here to Mount Hawkins. It kind of cuts back to your right, and you'll see here's the trail. So you're going to go a little bit past Mount Hawkins, look for this trail cutting back to the right, and then head up to the summit. And when you get to the summit, as you'd imagine, you're going to get some pretty spectacular views. You'll be able to see the Hawkins Ridge, which is those 3 bumps straight ahead of you there. That's where we'll be going later. You'll be able to see Baden-Powell, Mount Baldy, all from up here. Once you soak it all in, just head back down the way you came. And we're going to head back towards that Hawkins Ridge trail. Now, when you're on the PCT and you're coming this way, there's one little junction that can get kind of tricky. If you go to the right, which looks like the main trail, it goes down to a spring. But we're going to head back the way we came, so just be aware of that. And eventually you'll get to Hawkins Ridge, again, well marked here. And we're going to go straight down this all the way to South Mount Hawkins. Now, this trail is probably the least used trail after this whole loop, but it is generally pretty easy to follow. Now, there's a peak in the middle here called Middle Hawkins Trail, and you can see, Middle Hawkins Peak. You can see it down here as we go. There's Mount Baldy, San Antonio, depending on what you call it. As we go down here, you're going to see Middle Hawkins coming up, and there's a split. And the main trail is going to go down to the left, and we're going to go up the spur to Middle Hawkins. You can see there down to the left is the main trail. We're going to go uphill to Middle Hawkins. Now, you can kind of overland it straight and rejoin it later. The OSM maps, when I did this guide, were incorrect. They show the trail going straight over the top of this, but it does not. But you can climb to the top. It's going to be tough after that little bit of downhill. It's going to be a little painful probably to go up here. But it is part of the Sierra Club 100 Peaks. It is a peak. So you can go ahead and bag this if you'd like to. When you get to the top here, there's obviously beautiful views. This is Middle Hawkins. You can check it off the list, soak in the views. And like I said, you're probably just going to want to turn around and go back down to that last junction and continue around the trail. But you could also try to overland it and kind of scramble back down straight ahead. It is doable. So when you're done here, we're going to go back down and continue on the main Hawkins Ridge Trail, which goes on the, I guess it's the north side of the ridge. Back down around towards South Mount Hawkins, which will be in a little while, but we have some nice cruisy downhill in the meantime and some beautiful views as the Hawkins Ridge Trail goes through some of these saddles. There's Twin Peaks, Waterman again, Crystal Lake, Wilson. You'll be able to see them a ton as you go down this stretch. Now, the trail is small. It's not as bad as the little peak to Middle Hawkins, but it is a little bit smaller than normal. Now, there's another unofficial peak called Sadie Hawkins up to the right. You can bag that if you want. There's some used trails up there, but it's not one of the official 100 peaks of the Sierra Club. It all depends on how you feel, what you want to do. The trail goes through this nice little meadow where you can see some of the recovery from the Curve fire, which has kind of devastated the region, but it is recovering from it. Eventually you will see South Mount Hawkins in front of you, and that will be our next peak, last peak out of these trios of Mount Hawkinses. And when you come down to the saddle here, you can see there's a sign. Now when we come back down, we're going to go back down to the right, that hard right, and take that old Forest Service road back down to Crystal Lake. But when you come out here, you're going to see two choices. You can go up the road to the right, or you can go up the trail here, which we're going to do. We're actually going to go up the trail because it's a little bit nicer, and then we'll come back down the old road because it's a little less slippery. You can see it's marked. Now this will be painful because this will be your last hill. It's kind of steep, and you've been going downhill for a while. But good news, it's only about half a mile to get up to the summit there, and it's not too bad. So keep on climbing up here. There's some sections that are a little tough to find, but eventually you'll come out to the summit. You're going to see the ruins of the old fire tower, which got destroyed in the Curve fire. And you can explore the summit area. There's some old ruins, some old picnic benches. My favorite is the old toilet, which has a nice view of Mount Baldy in the distance here. Just this lonely throne on the summit. But soak it all in, and when we're done, we're going to go back down the road, which goes around to the right here, and I have a little map on the website too to kind of make sense of the summit. But we're going to go down this. It's a little bit easier to cruise down, less slippery. And eventually we're going to get back to that junction where we were earlier, where we came off of the Hawkins Ridge and we went up to the summit there. Now this time we're going to go down to the left, down the old Forest Service road. That was the road we took before. Now, this road used to be the road to the fire tower, but it's not maintained anymore since the fire, so it's a little overgrown. Some people find it boring. I've been on much worse fire roads than this. You're going to get nice views as you wind down. And we're just going to go straight. Now, some parts of the road, because it's not maintained, are washed out with slides, but in general, hikers have picked a trail through all of the obstructions, so just look for the path well worn, and you can see it here. This is pretty damaged, I'd say. It doesn't get much more damage than this, and you can see that hikers have picked a nice little trail through here. So just follow the footprints as you go through any of these wash areas, and eventually you're going to come back out to the intersection where we were way at the beginning of the hike on the trail to Windy Gap. And you're just going to get back on the same trail that we came up here. This is the only part where we're backtracking on this section, and go on down, and eventually we'll come back out at the parking lot where we started right here. And that's the hike.
So that's the hike. Definitely give it a try. It's not a super popular one, but it is very beautiful. So I do recommend it. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a link to the full article right under the video. And if you could do me a big favor, a big solid, and just click that little thumbs up button, that helps other people find the video, helps my channel too. So it's a nice way to say thank you. If you have any questions, just leave them under the video in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. But otherwise, yeah, Mount Hawkins, it's a fun one. Get out there and do it. Enjoy it. Look at these views. Definitely worth the effort.